Representative Dunbar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if anybody's keeping score, I'm originally born and raised in Allegheny County.
Thank you.
And found that.
That makes no difference to me at all.
I know, and traveled a little, and then I traveled a little bit east
Okay.
to the aptly named Westmoreland County. So put that on your list there as well. As I'm going through your budget book, looking at page 14, Budget Secretary's approval of your agency request for Act 146 waivers. For everybody's edification, Act 146 waivers is allowing you to continue to spend on unspent prior year funds to renew them for future years. As I look at the list, it's relatively extensive, and it seems like it's pretty much been happening year after year after year. And some of these funds date back to programs and line items, some of which we no longer appropriate dollars to, some of them which go all the way back to the Corbett and Rendell administration. In total, last I saw in total, approximately $70 million sitting there. So my questions are in relation to that. Are any of these funds earmarked for certain projects? Or have they all been repurposed, or what is exactly the plan?
In a lot of cases, those funds are already committed and already earmarked for projects. For example, the ethane cracker plant in Beaver County. A lot of times what happens there is we'll make a forward commitment to programs, and then we will pay that out of maybe a couple of years program funding accounts, but also we pay those once they're applied for. So there's always a lag within our program that always happens. In addition to that, we do have the clawbacks that I mentioned before that come back in to the department that act as or that show up on that particular list too.
So you did not tell me of repurposing any of them then? They're all for their original purpose then?
They have to be for the original.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
And some of them are relatively old, so I'm just not sure. Do you review this annually, some monthly, and how often do you review the whole process?
Yeah, so our financial folks, our folks in our chief financial officer and others do look at that on a consistent basis. The clawbacks that were mentioned, that I mentioned previously, may be clawback from funding that was originally distributed 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. So if we're clawing that back, that goes back into that account. So that may be the reason for some of the older accounts.
And I can appreciate that. And with that being said, then, do we anticipate that at some point in time, as opposed to these annually being just renewed and Act 146 waivers granted on all of them, that at some point in time we will be returning some of these funds to the general fund?
Probably not. I don't believe that any of those funds are. And again, so we're in the business, we make commitments, and sometimes the commitments in the accounting don't line up. So we'll make commitments to companies, and fairly significant commitments to companies, that the companies then have to go through an application process or have to, for example, we may make commitments of funds under land development programs. So we're preparing land for development to an economic development agency, and that economic development agency may be drawing those funds down over the course of a year or 2 years, depending upon when they actually do the work. So in a lot of cases, that's why those waivers are like that.
And again, but at the same time, you just told me about clawbacks. If it's being clawed back, it's because they haven't met certain requirements of the
Yes.
grant to begin with. So therefore, that money then would be not committed to anything, would it not? And then could be returned to the general fund? I'm asking.
It always could be, but I think that funding goes right back into the original program. And then we utilize that program, we utilize those funds again for that particular program.
But if a program's been dormant for years?
And these programs haven't been dormant. So that was that program was called the Opportunity Grant Program.
Yeah, that's actually one line I was actually looking at.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's where that was the clawback. So that was combined, I believe, in the last administration into the Pennsylvania First program. So Opportunity Grant Program is now part of the Pennsylvania First program. So what the
So if you have a clawback on an Opportunity Grant, you would reissue it under the new program?
Yes. And so what the governor's proposing.
I guess I don't know if that's repurposing or not, but renaming, I guess, would be a better term.
Yeah, it was renamed under the previous administration, and I think for some good reasons. But I think that the governor's proposal, I just want to be clear, the governor's proposing to take those the funds that are being clawed back right now and put them into an apprenticeship program and utilize those specifically for an apprenticeship program. So while what our department has done is utilize those programs before for the original intent of the program, the governor's proposing for us to utilize those programs now for that apprenticeship program that I mentioned previously.
Okay, well, I'll be looking to make sure that the funds do
Yes.
actually get out there at some point in time. Thank you.